As a former squaddie and prison officer, I have developed a very dark and sick sense of humour. I'll laugh at anything. Nothing is taboo. And so naturally, I gravitated towards Frankie Boyle. And when Frankie Boyle was at his height, the guy would literally have me crying with laughter. The things he said were, I think people would consider them to be a bit too far, but for me, it was near the knuckle, but funny nonetheless. He wasn't politically correct, and he didn't give a shit who he pissed off. It was my kind of thing. Anyway, so Brexit happened back in 2016, and overnight he turned from a very popular shock comedian into a very left-wing. It's like he turned into some sort of socialist student activist overnight. It was quite heartbreaking to see. And then he became politically correct. And his social media accounts were basically anti-Brexit, anti-Tory, anti-Donald Trump, bile. And I know their opinions, and everyone is allowed their opinions. But it's like this guy made a personality change, a massive U-turn, literally overnight. He was even writing articles in papers like The Guardian about how crappy Brexit was, etc. And so you can say that people on the right didn't really appreciate him very much. And even though I understand completely his opinions and, what he thought about Brexit, as is his right, You've got people like me who are for Brexit. You have Ramonas who don't like Brexit, and I understand all that, I really do. What I don't like about the guy is his stunning hypocrisy. You see, Ricky Gervais did his Netflix stand-up show recently, and a few comedians came out knocking him for that, one of them being the very unfunny Nish Kumar, and another hypocrite to boot because he took a swipe at Ricky Gervais for daring to joke about the trans community and targeting people for what they were. And the next thing you know, Nish Kumar's taking the piss out of white people on Twitter. So you see, the lefties are quite hypocritical, as is Frankie Boyle, because not only did he take a swipe at Ricky Gervais and accused him of making very lazy jokes about men who say they're women, but during his last performance, he talked about This Morning presenter Holly Willoughby and said, I quote, I'd obviously kill her and rape her afterwards. I'm joking, I'd rape her first. End quote. That's what he said. Now, I don't understand these people, especially the ones on the left, who call out people on the right or otherwise for doing things and then they do worse, okay? Or they do exactly the same thing. It's like they have a mindset of, it's okay when I do it, it's okay when we do it. So he was called to task about this, Like I said, it's not this sense of humour that I'm having a go at. It's his hypocrisy. He took a swipe at Ricky Gervais for being very lazy and making jokes about trans people. And yet here he is making a joke about having sex with and raping a woman. And then he tried to justify himself. And you can see the hypocrisy in his statement here as well. He said, can I just say, my routine about raping and having sex with Holly Willoughby was part of a very long routine about whether or not it's okay to do a joke about that. And I look at it from both sides. There are pluses and minuses. And he also said that the power of comedy is in the fact that it's in the eye of the beholder. What a massive hypocrite. Well, why the hell didn't he look at it from both sides when Ricky Gervais made jokes about the trans community? I mean, this is the guy who had his own talk show host, and he had a black woman on, and she made jokes about killing white people. And he sat there laughing along with it. And he's always gone on about, oh, you shouldn't make jokes about the trans people. You shouldn't make jokes about Muslims. You shouldn't make jokes about a gay and lesbian community. You shouldn't make jokes about minorities. And yet here he is, not long afterwards, making jokes about all these people, and sick ones as well. Like I said, sick jokes, don't give a shit. But it's the hypocrisy. It's the sheer hypocrisy of the guy. I mean, what the fuck has happened to him? It's like experiencing when one of your funny mates gets into a relationship with a fucking bitch, and the next thing you know, he hardly ever comes out. He doesn't come out drinking with you. He's not a laugh anymore. When she's around, he is completely It looks like he's in a shell, and you know for a fact she wears the trousers in that relationship. And when you go knock on the door asking if he's coming out for a pint or whatever, he opens the door sheepishly, and you know she stood behind the door telling him what to say, and he's not coming out anymore. He belongs to her now. Frankie Boyle belongs to the left, and he only now does comedy that the left find acceptable. So there we go. The lefty audience he panders to now wear the trousers in that relationship. And so, looking at this situation now, personally, I don't give a shit what a comedian jokes about. He's right there in what he says, in part. Comedy is in the eye of the beholder. Everyone finds different things funny. Comedy is subjective, and it doesn't really mean anything. But when Frankie Boyle and Nish Kumar and their ilk try to set boundaries for other comedians and then demonise them, that is when I find it hard to swallow. And I find it very funny and satisfying when it turns around and bites them in their own arses. That's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, I wish to thank these lovely people you see in front of you now for joining my channel and being members and supporting what I do. I really do appreciate them very, very much. You can do so too by clicking on the button down below or on the screen in front of you. And that's that. So until the next time, take it easy. Look after yourselves, and Roger Trout.